Welcome to the Growth Through Empathy Marketing Webinar Series. I'm Jennifer Yassin, and this is AJ Davis. And we're focused this month on how to optimize your home pages. So if you don't know, and this is your first time attending with us, we co-host a monthly marketing webinar series called Growth Through Empathy. And it's basically focused on how to leverage empathy to grow your business through building brand awareness, through marketing campaigns and activations, and also optimizing your experience on your website. We have real-world examples from brands, and we focus on brands that are mission-driven, are purpose-driven, and just want to make the world a better place. So you can find more about what we do at growththroughempathy.com. So as I said, I'm Jennifer Yassin. I'm the founder of the Freed Agency. I focus using my experience on building brand awareness, marketing strategies, partnerships, and product development. And my focus is really working with brands that are mission-driven, purpose-driven, and really want to help save this planet. So I provide overall experience, consulting, recommendations on using a holistic approach to your business, looking at the best ways to kind of build your brand strategy, identity, and how to leverage and build your tribe and best customers. And this is AJ.
Hey, I'm AJ. I'm the founder of Experiment Zone, and we help businesses take the traffic that comes to their site, communicate with these people about their brand, and then ultimately help them become customers. And we do that through a process called conversion rate optimization. We also have Erin on the call today, who's going to be taking and fielding your questions. So if you do have questions, please pop them in the chat, and then Erin will coordinate with us and make sure we get those questions answered today. So thanks so much for joining. We're really excited to have you. And we've got a couple things we'll go over today. So I'm going to be doing a deep dive on everything that you need to have on your homepage. We look at hundreds of homepages, and there are just some common mistakes and issues that exist on homepages. And when you can overcome these issues, you'll just be leagues ahead of your competition. You'll more quickly connect with your customers, and you'll be getting higher conversion rates on your site. So we're going to talk about how to communicate your purpose on your website using empathy, discovery of what is your purpose and what words help communicate that to your customers. We're going to talk about how to evaluate their engagement with the page. And we're also going to talk about ways to figure out changes and improvements that you can make to your homepage with the lens of empathy. So thinking of how does your customer experience your homepage, your brand, your site, so that we can communicate with them, they understand that you solve their problem, and ultimately they can work with you. We're also going to be introducing how to use A/B testing to measure the impact of changes you might be making on your homepage to your customer behavior. So we'll talk about how to think about those tests, how to structure them, and give you some specific test ideas as well. And at the very end, we've got two giveaways for you. The Freed Agency and Experiment Zone each have some giveaways that we will highlight for you and share with you at the end. So stay tuned. So each month when we meet, we talk about the visitor flow. So you've probably seen this if you've joined in previous webinars, but for those of you who haven't, we think about the customer journey on the website as being these 4 different steps. So first, customers need to discover your brand. They need to know the name of your brand, the website, they need to get there. And the second thing they need to do is they need to understand the education of what it is that you do, how you do it, answering any questions they may have, especially if you're introducing something new or disruptive that they may not have used before. Once they learn about your brand, they know your name, they understand what it is that you do and why you do it, we then move them into a browsing mindset. So this is like someone walking into your store, walking up and down the aisles and looking at what you're offering, whether they're products or services. This is where they get into the details and they figure out what it is that will help solve the issue that they have. And then the fourth step, oh, go ahead, Jen.
No, I was just going to say, and to AJ's point, it is, you spend a lot of effort on trying to reach your target, market. at building that brand awareness and driving them down the funnel. And so ensuring that you're having the right people come to your site and then how to properly move them down. This is a great example about how to really push them down the funnel to ensure that they actually do the fourth and final step. And I'll let you take over, AJ.
Yeah, which of course that last step is getting to become a customer, whether that's purchasing the product on your site, signing up for your email list, setting up an appointment with you if you're a service company. So all of these things that we do, whether it's before the website where we're in our marketing efforts, communicating, connecting, finding the right folks, and then helping and holding their hand as they move through all these steps. And what's really great about this process is that at each of these stages, they need different information and they need a different depth of information. And so that's part of the optimization, is getting that balance right. So you're not overwhelming customers, but you're not also leaving them hanging. So they have to do more work. So we'll continue to talk about those as we go today. So for today's workshop, I would recommend, to get the most out of our hour together, is that you pull up your own site and follow along. I will be sharing some examples on the screen today, but you're going to get more out of this if you look at your site and apply our thinking and recommendations to your homepage. And if you'd like some feedback on your site today, just drop your link in the chat and Erin will pull that up and we'll discuss those live towards the end of the session today. So you can get some personalized information and recommendations. Let us know how your site compares as we work through the examples. So use the chat to let us know, I've got this covered, or, I'm really struggling with this, so that we can dive deeper into some of these examples. And make sure to ask your questions and give feedback. We love when we get quoted, or this is the insight that really has clarified for us, so that we can put more emphasis on that and help connect people to better understanding their homepage in the future. So use that chat, don't be shy, and Erin will make sure we're including everyone in the conversation. All right, so first question today is your purpose. What do you do and what drives you? What is your brand's purpose? And this is maybe something you can simply write down today. This might be a big question you're going to circle and come back to, but what are some of the initial thoughts that you might have that we need to make sure we communicate on your site?
And it's really important. Yeah, I was just going to say, and it's really important to kind of really hone in on this. And this is what my agency really specializes in, is this is how you build your brand and you tell your story. By owning your purpose and understanding why you do what you do, you're going to attract the right customers, your ideal clients, customers. Really think about that. You can't be everything to everyone. You have to be something to someone. And it's really about building your tribe, because that tribe is going to be your brand evangelists. Those are going to be your best brand ambassadors. So it's really, really important to get very clear on your purpose and why you do what you do.
Yeah, we could do multiple sessions just on this one question.
Yes.
And so that's partly why I'm saying we might just circle the question and come back to it, because there's a lot to be said here.
Absolutely.
Making sure that as you hone that messaging and who your audience is, you're coming back to the website and making sure your website's communicating it too. All right, the next question, the problem or the opportunity. So as we think about your business, businesses exist to solve problems or opportunities in the market. So think about this question of, what problem do you solve for your customers? What's the biggest challenge that you help visitors overcome or customers overcome? And what are some of the pain points your customers sitting with today that compels them to come solve this problem and purchase the solution? And again, write down the answer. The simpler we can write the answers to these, the better we'll be able to communicate with clarity for customers when they come to the site.
Yeah, and oftentimes I tell my clients and how to advise them is like, identify these kind of top pain points, right, and the problems that you're solving, right, because that's how you're going to write your content, how you're going to tell what you actually do, and then when they come to the site, this is where AJ's expertise really comes in, is really walking them through and how to make it easy and getting them to the checkout or the call to action, whatever you want them to do as quickly as possible. But by being of service, and that's where people feel like heard, seen, valued, right? And that's why they're going to want to, work with you or buy from you.
Yeah. And what's really interesting too about positioning this as a problem is that oftentimes people who have a problem today are more compelled to take action. But sometimes the thing that we're putting into the world is actually something more aspirational. So sometimes these problems are really opportunities that you're solving or ways that you're making life better for people. So if a problem doesn't come to mind immediately for what you're producing and sharing with the world, think about the flip side of the question. How are you making people's lives better? What are you helping them aspire to with the products that you're bringing?
I love that, AJ. I think that's such a good recommendation and switch of perspective on how you can really get to thinking about like what your product, service, or business is really doing for the world.
All right, so the third thing we want you to write down is in the plainest English you can do. What is your solution? Challenge yourself to push this as far as you can to the fewest number of words. So what we need to be able to answer is what's the solution you provide to the last slide. So to the people that we talked about in slide number 1, and what is it that we're solving for them? And what is the solution? How do we do it? So how do we make the lives of our customers easier? And the second part of this is, why is our solution better than others, or what makes our solution unique? So what things stand apart from competitors who offer something that might seem pretty similar on face value? How do you service your customers in such a way that's different or is really going to help be your unique selling proposition? And make sure to write this down. And question 4 is building on the last one. So why should you be the business to solve this for your customers? So we know what your solution is, we know what you're offering, but why should we take you up on it? What is going to be different with your purpose and your value propositions than all the competitors? And take a moment to write that one down too. All right, so did you answer the question? Is your site conveying this information on the homepage? So the things that we just talked about need to be available to your customers on first impression. So when they first land on your website, whether it's your homepage or any landing pages, the answers to all those questions need to be available to them without doing a lot of work. So we need to pack a lot of information and not a lot of space. So we're going to be looking at some ways to think about that today. So the things that we need to make sure we're stating plainly: what problem does your business solve? How does this particular business solve this problem? And why should I go with this business for my problem? So then we ask, is your website working? Do people get it when they come to your site? Like, are they getting it quickly without losing their attention? We have very little time to give this impression. So in life, we see in a lot of studies that when we meet a person, we make an impression within 5 seconds. It's like that initial look at someone or initial interaction with them defines how you feel about them months later. And so this is true for your brand and for your website as well. We want to make sure that that first impression aligns with the brand that you're conveying. It aligns with your mission. It aligns with your purpose. They don't have to get every aspect of it. They don't have to get all the nuance of it. But you want to make sure that the things that they are getting and capturing from that first impression align with your mission and your values. There's a great tool out there called 5secondtest.com, and you can actually go out there and test this. So you can ask your friends and family, but they're going to be likely more biased towards knowing what you're already selling and what you're all about. But if you go to 5secondtest.com, they've got participants that you can pay to take a quick look at your site, literally quick, 5 seconds. And then you get a chance to ask them a question afterward. So you can ask them questions like, just the last 3 questions we talked about. What is the site about? How does the site make you feel? What would I do on this site? What action can I take here? What products can I buy? And by asking this question on that first impression, you'll come to understand some of the gaps you might have in communicating to your target audience. And here are those questions. What's the website about? What can you do on this website? And the other ones I said. All right, so now we're going to jump into asking these 3 questions about brands that some of us may already know. So we're going to look at Anova. In particular, this is their homepage, and this is advertising their precision oven. So on first impression, what's the problem they're solving? You can drop it in chat. Jen, you're welcome to jump in. What are some of the things that we're thinking as we see this page? To me, it's a kitchen. So it's something to do with cooking. The word oven stands out. I don't know what problem they're solving, if it's just I need a countertop oven versus an oven I may already have. I'm not sure of the unique value prop just from this first impression. But I do get the feeling it's for a kitchen, right? So I have a base understanding of it, something about cooking. And then the word precision stands out too. So there's something about precise oven. Maybe I have a problem with my oven being imprecise, but maybe I don't know if that should be an issue or not. How's it solved? Probably the oven with the name, precision oven. Probably that big product image that's right there. So the solution is more apparent here to me than the problem. And then why Anova? And Jen, do you see anything on here that's jumping out at you for what makes Anova unique?
No, and I think that's a big miss.
Maybe the shipping, like this product's going to be launched, so it's like new and exciting, but it feels like a stretch to even say that.
Mm-hmm.
So there's clearly some opportunities for Anova to further expand how they're communicating these 3 points on that first impression. All right, so we're going to stick with the food industry for this example, answering these questions. So we're going to look at Ninja now. So what is the problem that Ninja is solving?
Well, we can see that you can have their grill to achieve perfectly char-grilled flavors. So clearly they're stating that with this product, and it's now indoors, so you don't have to only use it outdoors. I like that they clearly call out the benefits of buying directly with them, right?
I love the now indoors. The now indoors part to me really stands out because it's like, oh yeah, I do grill outside, but maybe there's something to that. Maybe there's some pain points about grilling outside and kind of like having to schlep all my food ingredients in my backyard and then the cleanup. And maybe I have a problem here is what comes to mind. I start wondering if I have a problem. But I agree that they are calling out some of these values, the values of the flavors and that it's perfect each time and it's indoors. How's it solved? The grill, again, I think they're really relying on the heavy imagery here. And then why Ninja? Do you get any of that here, Jen?
Yeah, I mean, obviously just buying, they call out the benefits of buying directly from them, right? I don't think that they do enough of calling out why Ninja, why you should actually buy Ninja products in general. But they're clearly focused on, the benefits of buying directly from them as opposed to, their wholesale retail partners.
Yeah, I love that they use the word benefits here. Like that really draws my eye to it when I'm wondering, well, like, why would I want Ninja? Okay, but it gets me curious and makes me want to scroll further into it to read more. So when we can be really, really plain with our language in combination with the imagery, it can be much more impactful from a conversion perspective because our eyes will gravitate to the image and then we'll be looking for why are we looking at this beautiful steak? And then you'll want to answer your questions. And so your brain starts jumping through wanting to know more about this. And the words paired with the imagery just really directly answers it rather than making you dig for the answer.
Absolutely.
Okay, so next up on your homepage, you've got your 3 value props that we talked about, the 3 questions you need to be able to clearly answer. We've got to know what's above the fold because visitors have a lot going on. If your page is loading and they can't figure out what your site's about, they're going to bounce. So we need to be able to understand and focus and prioritize the information visitors see without scrolling for this first impression. So what information is included? Is it easy to read? And very importantly, what is your eye drawn towards? So we give that first impression, we give that information, but we also can help attract attention to certain actions or certain information so that people can more quickly connect with our values and what we're bringing into the world. So jumping into some examples. Looking above the fold at this example here, what information is included about this? Jen, I'm going to rely on you as my guinea pig for these questions.
I love it. Yes. Well, obviously they're promoting back to school products for children, but that's about it.
Yeah. When we think about what the directness of it, the homeschool does stand out. Shop by age, there's an image of a child.
Mm-hmm.
start relying a bit on the navigation to communicate to us. Sale, baby toys, dresses, that gives us a little bit more information. It isn't, to me, very easy to read, though. You have to kind of like move your eyes through all the different words to really build a sense of what the site's about. And they're not clearly stating this is what the site is for and how we're solving it.
Right.
And Jen, where does your eye go in this?
Obviously the image first, right? Images always captivate, your audience when you land first on a homepage, and obviously imagery is important. I think the shop by age is great that it is above the fold, but you can't actually shop by age above the fold fully, so you have to keep scrolling. So being able to understand what age they service would, I think, be helpful, right? Mm-hmm. Because if someone is a mom and they don't have the child that she can actually buy from here, right? If she doesn't have a child old enough or young enough, right? So. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you on the image. He's staring straight at us. So when we see images of people looking straight at the camera, we tend to make eye contact with them. It's like one of our human nature things that we do.
Right.
One of the fun things you can do with images is that the direction of the eye pointing, so if he looked down at the shop now or back to school, we'd be more likely to look at it because we tend to follow the gaze of people. What's a miss here for me is that they have the shop now link very small under the back to homeschool. And they actually have this sort of coloring thing happening, which is a really nice artistic thing, but I feel like it's detracting from the shop now call to action. So what they want people to do on their homepage is to shop now, but instead they're drawing our attention to going into the navigation, scrolling down the page, and not focusing on this collection they're promoting.
Yeah, I think what would have been better is if they actually had the coloring behind the shop now button and had it larger, right?
The button could be full width. It could be look like a button, so you can tap it. It draws your attention. We love to talk about the squint test. We almost talk about this every month. So you sit back in your chair and you squint your eyes and like what jumps out here, and it's not the shop now button. So we really want to make sure that what's above the fold has one thing that's very much a focal point that you can draw people in on. All right, our next example, sticking with the kids theme here. So what's the included information? How easily can you find and read it? And where do your eyes go?
Well, I don't think they give enough information here at all.
This one's a hard one.
This one is a hard one.
Their navigation it's not showing, so it's not assisting us. Even the word kids, it's only available under this logo, the small logo, and not the second version of the logo. Gift of imagination is, to me, aspirational. So it's, when we're talking about what problem do you solve, giving a gift of imagination feels like something that I may not be struggling with today, but is something I'd like to bring into the world. But it's not telling me who I give it to, what the gift is. I feel like I'm still left with a lot of questions, and I certainly am not given a clear call to action for what to do on this page. And so coming to calls to action, I've said this a couple of times. What do I mean by this? So a call to action is something that you do when you want your visitor to become a customer. What is this thing that would make them convert to purchasing a product, convert to setting up an appointment with you? Whatever that goal is and the purpose of your website, this is the thing that should be the call to action. So what we want to make sure is that your homepage has a clear primary call to action. We want to make sure it's easy to see it on your page. And we want to use tools to make sure people are actually interacting with it. So the tool I'll point to here is Hotjar. It's one of many click tracking tools that are available out here. And what you can do is you can set it up on a specific page and you can see where people interact within that page. And what we want to see is that we see a focus of energy and attention and clicks right on those buttons and calls to actions that we want for the page. So let's take a look at some examples. Where's the call to action? Does your eye notice it? And is the language engaging or really clear for what's being sold here? Jen, any thoughts?
Well, obviously it's a beautiful image of a bag, but I think the call to action is blending too much with the background of the image. So you really need to focus on when you're for a call to action, it needs to be visible and clearly defined, right? It's not enough if it looks good. You really have to ensure that it's clear for people where you want them to go.
Yeah, there's really low contrast here. So they're using white text on a very light gray background. And so not only is it competing with this beautiful image of the product, but it has low contrast. So our eyes don't notice it. When we do the squint test, we're certainly noticing the product, but we're not noticing what we can do here. And the Shop Now button text is very small. It's very much blending in. And the language communicates what's happening and is action oriented, but it's easily missed. All right, and sticking with the bag theme, taking a look at their hero and the call to action. Jen, where does your eye gravitate on this one?
The text for me. I think the call to action could definitely be a bit larger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is an interesting balance where it's showing the product, it's red, it kind of stands out against what she's wearing, but it's not overtaking the language. So it's giving you the aspiration. You're ready for anything. It's telling you a little bit about this particular product line. And then it is giving you a call to action of the Shop Now. It is slightly more visible than the last page example that we looked at, but I agree that it's getting lost here compared to the other copy and elements above the fold. So increasing the size here would help draw attention and pull people into engaging further with the site. All right, and a bonus today, let's think about analytics. And we're not going to spend a ton of time here because we could do a whole session on this. But what we want to do is we want to look at people who visit different sources, who come from different sources, whether it's social media, they come directly to your site, maybe you're running an ad campaign. We want to look at each of these segments of visitors based on where they're coming in. And we want to see what is the conversion rate when they land on this page to sticking around to the page and then ultimately becoming a customer. So we want to make sure that we have this data to inform, are we communicating the right amount and the right information to the different segments that we have? So make sure to use the audience segments in GA to really dig in and better understand your users. We also want to know things like how many total visitors are coming to my homepage and how many of these ultimately purchase. And what we want to do is over time, we want to keep a look at this and understand, is this changing? Are there different people coming to the site? Are more of these people becoming customers or fewer? Are they struggling to figure out what this is all about? And so by keeping a lens on this data point, we get a sense of where we should focus our time and energy in improving the website. So make sure you've got this and make sure you've got it on your calendar to check in on it on a regular cadence.
And also just to add to that too, I think it's also really important to focus on these traffic sources as well, because you don't have to spread yourself too thin. Focus on where your customer is spending the most time, right? Where you're converting the most customers. It's really good to obviously try new sources and change things up. But again, kind of knowing what works for you is always best.
Definitely. And now we're going to talk a little bit about A/B testing. So I introduced this at the beginning, and A/B testing at its face value is you're taking two groups, Group A and Group B, and you're giving them a different experience on your website, your email, on your text message, whatever you're testing. And so for website testing, when we say A/B testing, we'll split the group into 50% of visitors in each of these segments. They'll each see a version of your homepage or your call to action or your image. So that would be your test variable. And then we measure what is the order conversion rate, or what is the conversion rate to take an action on that call to action on the homepage, and compare between the two variants, what's the difference in how people behaved based on this one change that we made. And why do we do this? It gives us the confidence that we're making data-driven decisions on our site, so we're incrementally improving conversion rate using testing. So as we think about testing on your homepage, we can go over some live examples. So Erin, do you have some examples that we should pull up?
Yeah, we have a few examples. So let me go ahead and share my screen. And this first one is from Deepa, and it is Breathe Deep Designs. And she sent a note over saying that, originally her site was very complicated. She got some feedback that her site was really complicated, and so she tried to minimize, but she's not sure that she has the right balance of information and call to actions.
Fantastic. Deepa, thanks for submitting your site. So we'll spend a couple minutes just taking a look at that first impression. Oh, I'm glad you're unmuted. Deepa, anything else we should know about your mission and your purpose before we jump in? All right, we'll go ahead and just jump in then. Erin, do you want to close that pop-up?
Did you hear me? I don't know. Can you hear me now?
Oh, there you are.
Yes, we can hear you.
I just started talking to myself.
Thanks for jumping back in. So tell us a little bit about your business and your purpose.
Well, hi to all of you, and thank you for offering to look at my page. I'm a small business. I'm an army of one. I've been hand making my jewelry in Dallas, Texas, but I work with fair trade partners, fair wage partners, for pieces and parts, and I tell the story of how they make it outside of just silversmithing in the United States. And I use some of that money to impact the homeless and the hungry here in Dallas.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
Erin, do you want to close that pop-up from Constant?
Oh, this one? Yes.
Yeah. Take a look. All right. And Jen, feel free to join in here too. We can both kind of share our first impressions.
Yeah.
The first thing that stands out to me in terms of what we've talked about so far as an opportunity for you is that the Shop by Collections button isn't popping out to me. So it's a white button on a slightly white background, and putting an outline around it or making it a bolder color will help draw attention to it.
Agreed. Yeah. And I love the fact that you have called out exactly what your jewelry does, and that's wonderful. And I can't agree with AJ enough. I think just having the background color maybe be one of the nice like purple hues that you have on the site, or just outlining it just to bring your eye to that shop button, I think will probably help.
Yeah, and one of the things too, as a jewelry site, you have the business name as your headline here, but I don't see the word jewelry above the fold except for in the logo itself. So being really specific about the words that you're using to say, this is what our site sells, as well as adding in that color of why you should buy jewelry from us, which you have in both saying Dallas, people in Texas, I'm in Austin, we love Texas and we love talking about it. So I love that you're calling it out. And then you're talking about your values and your purpose here. But by directly stating jewelry in the header, you'll be more clearly communicating that that's what the site is about. You have the image.
Below the fold. Mm-hmm. Below the fold. So I appreciate that information.
Yeah, I also think too, the fact that you are using some of the proceeds to help the homeless in Dallas, I think also too, maybe trying to figure out a way to put that above the fold as well. Maybe what percentage donation. I think that would also help too, because people obviously love shopping with brands that give back.
Thank you.
Erin, do you want to scroll down a little bit? Because I think we can take a look at what comes next on the page. Okay, great. So you're inspired by the world, made in Dallas, Texas. So you're reinforcing that message. And I think to Jen's point, this could be a great place to even just say, why Breathe Deep designs jewelry. You could just be really clear here in highlighting a couple of the specific things, like we're inspired by the world, we give back to our community, and here's how much we give back. You might talk about the speed to get the custom jewelry or the quality of the jewelry. There's a number of things that might help stand out against other jewelry makers as well. Thanks so much for being on for your questions. Do you have any follow-up questions for us that we'd be happy to chat through them?
No, I think, I guess the rest of you don't know is that AJ and I met once before, and she was nice enough to review my, my mobile view, which I was really having a struggle with. And some of the things that you told me for my mobile view, I was able to articulate into my desktop view too. It got me thinking. So I felt like, one, you were super nice about the information you offered. So it was a little less overwhelmed by it. And then two, it immediately gave me some tasks that I could do that could then also like be applied to things on this page. So I felt like it was great feedback, and I'm really appreciative of anything you have to say. So thank you.
Yeah, we're so glad you joined us again. So thanks for your feedback. I'm glad that you were able to implement a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Erin, do we have any other sites today?
Yeah,
Feel free to put in the chat if you guys have some more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have a few other pulled up, so we can look at this one.
All right. All right, Hello Luna Toys. Okay. Jen, does this pass the sniff test from all the things we talked about today?
Well, we know it's toys, obviously, from the logo, and obviously they're calling out kind of their latest toys, which is relevant for obviously Halloween coming up. But there's not a clear call to action. Mm-hmm. So I think that that's a big miss, right? You know, there's a box, but is the box clickable? It's not very clear.
What I see here is like the thing that they're prompting me to do is to search. And so I feel like this would be great if I know what I'm looking for. I can kind of jump right into that and make that in my face and easy. But you know, things are below the fold here, so I don't get the full sense. And Erin, if you want to scroll down, ideas for Enchanted Halloween, Shop Halloween. It's a great opportunity for us to get a really clear button in that Shop Halloween. So getting that above the fold, making sure that is what jumps out when we do the squint test. Those two things are going to make a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
All right, great.
I'll go to the next one.
All right, click for futurelearn.com. All right.
Okay.
I love the clear what you learn. Learn skills with top educators. Like that really draws me in and feels really specific. And it makes me wonder, like, what skills will I learn? I want to know more about that. Yeah.
I love that there's two offerings too. Clearly the join for free is as bold and highlighted, but you can also explore the courses. So there's two different call to actions that you can take. And I love that they are kind of cementing their success and kind of who they're backed by, right? So I think that that's great that that's above the fold. You already feel comfortable and confident that you'll be learning with top experts.
Yeah, this does a great job balancing your focal points as well. So you'll notice that in this example, we've got a woman looking down, right? So instead of the little boy that was looking straight at us before, if we follow her gaze, we're now learning from experts from world-leading universities and organizations. It doesn't say this is the benefit, but it's very clear this is the benefit, right? So even just plainly stating it in a sentence like this is really helpful. And then these logos can provide that social proof of all these other folks are involved, they're part of the team, you're going to get to learn from them. So I think this is a great example of a homepage. I would be curious about the two calls to action. So I would love to A/B, that would be something I would A/B test. Are the two things competing with each other, or are they really speaking to different audiences and just giving them those two lenses in? So that would be a great thing to take a look at as a test idea.
And it also clearly states the problem that they're solving, right? Obviously, you want to learn new skills, and that's clearly a solution to a problem.
Yeah, those are great. Thanks everyone for submitting their sites today. We do have a couple more slides, so I will switch back over to that. Feel free to drop any questions you have in the chat. Give me 1 second. This is a harder thing to maneuver than I was expecting. Here we go. Okay. All right. Thank you guys for your questions. So continuing on here, we went through some specific A/B test ideas and some compliments as well to things that we saw that were really strong on some of these sites. So just a couple of reminders and some take-home things. Make sure you're telling visitors what you provide. Be really direct, like use plain language to say, here's what we do. And we also give information for why you're the right business for it. As you saw, some of these examples talk about the words. These are the benefits. And some examples are using social proof. And so it's going to depend on your audience for which of these things better convey why you're the right business. And so try different things out to figure out what's the right mix of words versus logos versus positioning. So as Jen mentioned at the beginning, that's a very involved question. What's my purpose? Mm-hmm. And it can be a lot of work to get to that answer. But when you nail it, you want to make sure you're very clearly providing that answer on the homepage. You want to focus on content above the fold. It's where you're going to have the most attention. It's your opportunity to get that first impression right. And then make sure you give clear calls to action. You know, as you see on a lot of the examples we shared, we get beautiful imagery, we get thoughtful words, but then if you miss the call to action, it just creates more friction and more work for the visitor. So make sure to give them that focus and give them something, can guide them through the process of better understanding your business and what you're offering. And don't forget to conduct regular analysis. Test where you can, talk about the different things, figure out what works better for your audience. What's scary if we just build a site and let it be is that the world around us is continuously changing. And so we may miss out expectations that change for our customers, or it might be that our competitors are doing this regularly and they can get ahead and do a better job than we're doing with our analysis. So make it a regular part of your process to step back and answer these questions and make sure your homepage is consistently answering it. So a couple of the tools we mentioned today, 5secondtest.com for getting that first impression your site makes. Hotjar is one of many tools out there that will give you some click tracking help so you can understand what your visitors are focused on. And Google Analytics is one of the leading tool, is the leading tool for understanding what your visitor is doing on their site. And today we've got a couple of giveaways. So from Experiment Zone, you can get a free conversion report card at experimentzone.com. Erin's going to drop these links in the chat for you as well. So please fill those out, and we look forward to sharing insights for your business. Jen, do you want to share some information about the marketing strategy consult?
Yeah, sure. So I'm offering a free 30-minute marketing strategy consultation, and you'll definitely walk away with an overall kind of partnership idea, brand campaign, and really help you kind of narrow in on what potentially your purpose is and focus.
And you can sign up for our next webinar at growthroughempathy.com. Jen has a really exciting topic for us that's very relevant, especially with COVID this year. So Jen, will you give us a preview?
Yeah, sure. So we're going to be talking about holiday, right? Now that a lot of people are doing more online shopping than ever before, especially because of COVID. It's really how to stay relevant and build brand awareness, how to entice and engage or re-engage your customers, and really just like capitalizing on that. So we'll talk about a few like high-level tactic ideas and how you can adopt them for your own business.
And the holidays are starting sooner this year. A lot of people are anticipating customers shopping earlier, especially with uncertainty with COVID and with shipping times. So make sure to attend next month because these will be important, almost last-minute tips as we head into the holidays that's going to be starting sooner this year. So really excited for that. We also have a Facebook group, and we love to have your questions and have deeper discussions with you about things that come up. So do join our Growth Through Empathy Facebook group, and you can post your questions there. Jen and I will answer any questions that come up, as well as a really wide community of people who work in this space and will also jump in with their experiences. So be sure to join there and ask any follow-up questions you do have. And we have our links here to our websites as well. And thank you guys so much for joining today. Erin, did we have any other questions pop in as we were wrapping up today?
Yeah, we have a couple questions. So the first one was around that last example that we looked at, the last site, and around social proof. And so, you know, some people might not have that type of social proof to put on their site. Are there other ways that they can kind of bring validity to their business on their homepage?
Yeah, I love this. I'll just quickly jump in and AJ. Yeah, I love this. So obviously if you're, you know, a consultant or a coach, having client testimonials, having, you know, navigation dedicated to that is really important. I think also customer reviews. If you're using Yotpo or other services to, ensure you're getting customer reviews on your products, I think that's really beneficial. Obviously, we all seek reviews to, validate our purchase, or should we actually go with this person. So I think that that's a great way. And if you haven't asked for customer reviews or client testimonials, I definitely think that that's something that you should prioritize.
Yeah, one of the tips that I have as you're thinking about gathering some of these case studies or reviews is that when somebody gives you a compliment, follow up with asking if you can feature them on the site. If they've already taken the time to tell you that this was great or really helpful, you can ask a follow-up question after they've received the product. It doesn't even have to be through a formal tool, although ultimately you do want to get to a place where you can collect them automatically. But where we started with this too is that it's really about conveying the benefits of working with you. And so the social proof is important and essential if we can get it and we can feature it. But if you don't have it, just focus on very plainly stating, these are the benefits of working with us. This is how we're different than other businesses. And so we did see some examples today where it just said benefits and it had a couple of highlights of things that make it better or differentiate those businesses. So you could start there as you're building up the reviews and the case studies and things that you have.
Okay, great. And then last question, you mentioned A/B testing those buttons. Would that be an option for anyone? How do you get started on A/B testing? Like kind of a quick crash course on how to get started.
Yeah, we're happy to go deeper on this. There's a whole bunch of things that go into this, but effectively with A/B testing, there's a bunch of tools in the market and they will allow you to create two different experiences and split your traffic. So a good tool to take a look at if you're just getting started is something like Google Optimize, which is free for up to 5 tests at a time. So what you can do is just add a simple tag to your site, just like you do with Google Analytics, and then it will allow you to set up changes in your site. So if you do have some more questions about testing, we're happy to do, a quick 15 or 20-minute call to get you going on that path. So feel free to reach out to us about that.
Awesome. I think that's all the questions that we have right now.
All right. Thanks everyone so much for joining. We look forward to having you next week or next month with Jen. So make sure to sign up. We will send out a recording from today's episode, and we look forward to seeing you for our holiday talk.